Hi, First Presbyterian community. This is Marvin Lindsay, your senior pastor, and I wanted to take some time in this video to give you an update on Project Regeneration. If you're unfamiliar with that name, Project Regeneration, it is a visioning and mission process that is provided by the Presbyterian Foundation for congregations. The Presbyterian Foundation is the mission, the investment arm, that is, of the Presbyterian Church USA. The session last December agreed to embark on Project Regeneration because of concerns about a significant budget shortfall that we experienced in 2022. Many congregations coming out of the pandemic have experienced similar budget shortfalls. It's a common problem, but at the same time, it's a problem that we need to work on resolving. And so we've been engaged in a number of activities over the last few months to address this in light of our larger understanding of who and what God is calling us to be and do in the future. So we read a book together as a session and as a congregation during the season of Lent called Sailboat Church. And we learned about the distinction between being a rowboat church, where if churches experience rough seas, they row harder and eventually get tired and wear out, to being a sailboat church, where you lift a sail and you rely on the presence and power of God's Holy Spirit. The word for spirit in the Bible means wind or breath. And so we talked a lot about how we can become a more spirit filled, spirit led sailboat church so that we have the spiritual resources that we need to accomplish our mission, which are the resources that we need above all. In the summertime, we got a report back from the Presbyterian Foundation about our finances. They did a deep dive into our church's finances and made a number of recommendations to the session about better practices that we can implement going forward to maintain a better financial position for the congregation. And then in August, we had a morning retreat led by Reverend Rose Niles, who is our Presbyterian Ministry Relations Officer from the Presbyterian Foundation. That was a really good experience. We went around and shared joys and concerns. The conversation got very deep very quickly. I think there is a great deal of trust between the elders that you have elected to serve on the session. And that was really borne out in that morning's meeting. It was a really good experience, and you can feel confident that you've got mature and thoughtful and faithful Christians who are leading you as a congregation at this time. We talked a lot about our core values. Reverend Niles led us in a core values exercise where we talked about what we thought our core values are as individuals, what we think our congregation's core values are, and what the community's core values are. And then we came back to that exercise in September. We did some reflection on how our mission and vision statement either lines up really well with our sense of congregational and community core values, or where there are elements and places where they diverge. We're going to take that information, that conversation that was generated in that September meeting, and give it to three ruling elders on the session: Rachel Davis, Bob Lowith, and Betsy Westermeyer. And these three are going to look at our mission and vision statement in light of that feedback on our core values that the session generated in September, and come back with some recommendations about whether or not our vision and mission statements need to be updated or revised in any way. One thing that Reverend Niles pressed us to think about is, do our mission and vision statements capture who we are at our core? Or think about that one thing that, if it wasn't there, would make First Presbyterian Church Haddonfield no longer First Presbyterian Church Haddonfield? Is that in our mission and vision statement? So they're going to jumpstart the conversation on that. The session is going to adopt, if necessary, new vision and mission statements. And then we're going to come back to you as a congregation, either in a series of small group meetings or in a large group setting. We haven't decided on that yet. And give you some work to do. We're going to ask you, having revised our mission and vision statements, having discerned where we think God is calling us to be and to do in the next few years, how do we put meat on the bones of those mission statements and vision statements specifically? What specific work do you think you are being called to engage in to make those vision and mission statements more and more of reality. And that will form the basis for our congregation's budgeting, for our congregation's volunteer recruitment and training, for our congregation staff's job descriptions and how they spend their daily time equipping the saints for ministry. And we are confident that as we seek more and more God's will and more clarify a sense of where God is calling us as a congregation, that there will be the resources there to go in that direction, both spiritual resources and financial resources. So I just, again, wanted to check in with you about this process that we've been going through over the last few months. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at mlindsay@haddonfieldpres.org. You can also reach me on my cell phone, 804 332 5448. You can reach me also at the church office number at 856 429 1960. Look forward to continuing the conversation with you. Look forward to figuring out with you where God's Spirit is directing us and blowing us the direction that God is charting for us in these next few years. Take care and God bless.